All right, welcome to an all-new episode of Star Wars Saturday. This episode, we will be... Wow, okay. All right. I'm not even going to cut it out. I'm not even going to cut that out.
Marker.
I want people to see that we are not perfect here. No, what I was trying to say is, because I didn't want to say debate, because we're not really debating it. We're having a conversation about the state of Star Wars under Disney.
Oh, I'm not brave enough for politics.
That's what I was tripping on, because I was going to say we're going to have a conversation, and then my brain was like, say debate. You love debate. And I'm like, it's not a debate necessarily.
War.
But yeah.
It's going to be war.
I probably will. Definitely
Probably.
with you, AJ. It'll be war between me and you for sure. But no, all jokes aside, we're going to have fun with this. And we told you guys, even after Star Wars The Clone Wars are over, we will still try our best to come together.
I have so many ideas, dude. Like, you have no idea. Like, I could give you an entire episode where I read you the technical readouts of a Super Star Destroyer, and I, like, go over what the power is. I'll have my own infomercial series. Like, I'll start with a different product in the Star Wars universe, and I'll do it.
So that's perfect. So that's my point. We have so much Star Wars stuff to talk about.
So I got to tell you guys, I am, despite my best efforts, I was telling Dakota this before we recorded the last episode, like, I fell out with Star Wars for a long time because, like, when I was, because I'm 26 here, I'm going to be 27 this year. So, I mean, I'm inching closer to my 30s and I'm not comfortable with it. But when I was a kid, like, you got made fun of for liking Star Wars. Like, people gave me shit all the time for it. And, like, I was the weird kid who had the Darth Vader mask that kind of hung out in the woods by himself. Didn't have a lot of friends. But then I saw, like, and this is where it's gonna get into. It's like, because of how much content is being jammed down our throats nowadays, it's like the same people that used to make fun of me for it are now, like, all about it and taking their kids. And while some part of me is like, yeah, that's cool, good for them, I'm glad they finally came around, there's always going to be a little bitter part to me for that.
Fuck you.
So,
Yeah.
no, exactly. That's where it is for me, and that's why I fell out for a long time.
Yeah.
But, like, as soon as Disney Plus came out and I saw the Clone Wars on there, I fell right back into it.
I mean, I would even say, I would compare it to this. I didn't watch wrestling for a while after, because I was born in 93, so when I could understand what I was watching was around the time the Attitude Era was starting.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, when Kane came out for the first time, dude,
exactly.
scared the living shit out of me. I loved it.
So I left it a little bit. I was watching some of Cena's rise, but I didn't really get back into wrestling until CM Punk. And Star Wars The Clone Wars was my equivalent of CM Punk. When that movie came out, and I saw it with my stepdad, and I'm like, who is this annoying-ass little Padawan that you're trying to tell me I got to care about? And we're now almost 10 years later, and I'm telling you about how she's inching into my top 5.
Yeah.
So that's how Star Wars The Clone Wars got me reintroduced me into the world of Star Wars and let me know, like, there's a galaxy out there that we haven't explored yet that you love. And you know, to me, when Disney acquired Star Wars, first thing I thought was Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the show, was edgy. It was edgy. It was edgier than you thought it would be, way edgier than Rebels. But Rebels is the exact child of Disney. That was the first project Filoni did with Disney, was Rebels. And you felt like it was touched by Disney.
Yeah, I remember in 2008 when that show came out, like, when the first season of Clone Wars came out, because I think I was a freshman in high school when it came out. Like, I was sitting there watching it, and I'm, like, hearing these guys say, like, hell and damn. I'm like, this isn't really a kid's show, is it?
Yeah, but that was also when I was getting into Cartoon Network. Around that time, Regular Show was coming out.
Yeah, dude, I slept on Regular Show for a long time. And I finally watched
Batman.
it. I love it.
I was like, hold on, let me find out. I might have to get back into Cartoon Network again.
Yeah.
And then I'm glad I stayed, because then not long after, Rick and Morty came, and it just had a great run.
I didn't watch Rick and Morty for the longest time because everybody else was watching it, and I'm like, I really don't want to go into it. But then I finally watched it. I'm like, all right, this shit's fucking this shit. It's the funniest shit I've ever seen.
it's always been my blueprint. I learned this from my stepdad. It's always been my blueprint. When Family Guy came out, I wasn't watching it. I wasn't getting into it. I wasn't watching South Park. Everyone at school was talking about it, and it made it seem so corny to me. And then my stepdad was like, "Hey, I bought a few seasons of Family Guy on DVD. You want to sit down and watch them?" And I'm like, "All right, sure, whatever." And then I started watching it with him, and I'm like, "Oh, the hype was real."
See, I've always been more of a fan of American Dad. American Dad was it for me.
I was a fan of all of them.
Yeah, same.
Like I like Family Guy, but American Dad's funnier to me.
Let me say this, and then we're gonna get back into Star Wars. Let me say this. I, for the longest, was saying how, like, American Dad, is like the ugly stepsister of Family Guy, right?
Oh, no.
This is where I changed my mind. This is when I changed my mind. The hurricane episode, where Stan was trying to anchor the house, and then it flipped.
I asked you to get help,
that entire episode.
and you harpooned me.
Yes, that entire episode is when I said, you know what? The torch has been passed. It's American Dad's world now.
Oh yeah.
Roger became the equivalent of Stewie. Steve became the equivalent of Brian.
Right.
Obviously, Stan, Peter, Francine, Lois. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, they're gonna have to pass it, man. It's American Dad's world now.
Yeah. It's the whole storyline is just funnier to me. And it's not to shit on Family Guy, because Family Guy's brilliant too. But like, just I don't know, American Dad. I am a lot like Stan Smith in the way I like present myself and my mannerisms, and it's not always unintentional. It's always stuck with me more than Family Guy.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan originally of American Dad's animation style early on.
Yeah.
Same way I hated Family
The first
Guy.
two episodes two seasons were really weird, but then season 3 came along and they really got into it.
Really, really, really.
It's like BoJack Horseman, honestly. The whole first season is kind of wonky, but then
Can I
it
be
just
honest
becomes
with you?
fucking amazing.
My best friend Joel was telling me about BoJack Horseman. He had never really gotten that far in it, but he was like, I started watching it. It's really good.
It is so good.
That is the best adult animated show I've seen in my life.
Like
it's the only animated show that hits on real things.
Yeah, and presents it in a real way.
Right, and it's not
While
even
also featuring
not even like you have to be an actor to feel where he's coming from. That's a real life problem.
Yeah.
Even if you aren't famous, that's stuff real people go through. And after I finished it, because I binged it on Netflix.
Yeah.
I
watched
Netflix just to binge that. So I started watching it, and I'm just like, holy shit! Like this is how you do it. And they had so many
side gags,
BoJack Horseman did something I never thought it could do, and it got Angela Bassett to be a voiceover for the show. Angela Bassett's not doing Family Guy. She's not doing American Dad. She's not doing Rick and Morty. She came on to do BoJack Horseman and was hilarious.
It like made fun of the entire industry while also featuring those same people that work in that industry. So it's like it goes beyond satire, but it's also like the way it tackles everything is just amazing. And I think it gives people who didn't have like a way to like put their thoughts into action of what they think is wrong with them. BoJack could have given him that thing that says, "Hey, that's what this looks like. That's what I'm dealing with right now."
No, you're absolutely correct. But all right, sorry guys.
Yeah, this is the BoJack Horseman podcast.
We got a little off topic.
Hours.
Let's get back to Star Wars. On this episode, we want to kind of talk about how we think the state of Star Wars is since it has been acquired by Disney. Many prefer the Lucas days. Many have no problem with the Disney days. And many are stuck in between not really loving the Lucas days and really hating the Disney days. So we're going to talk about all of it. 99, this was originally your
I'm the one that opened my dumb mouth about it.
So I want you to start us off on your thoughts on the state of Star Wars under Disney.
Should have smoked more weed before I did this episode. Yeah, so like I alluded to what I was just talking about, Star Wars to me as a kid meant like everything. Like my whole life was just like based around it. I wanted all the games, all the books, everything. Like it was pretty much an obsession for me, and like I don't know, like I had that dream of it, and I think I internalized it for so long that that's what I would always see Star Wars as. And then to see this new series, these new characters, this new thing, like it felt hollow to me, honestly. Like it was like there was some like obviously there was love there taken in like the visuals and stuff, but like it just didn't feel like true Star Wars to me. And I don't know how to rectify that or how to make that clear. I guess I would just have to watch the entire thing from start to finish. But there was something about the Lucas films that I appreciated, and it was George Lucas. Like whether you liked the guy or hated the guy, that was his series, and he stuck through it. He stuck with it as long as he could, and it wasn't always perfect. I mean, but like this guy single-handedly created one of the biggest pop culture universes ever. Like you can say there's Marvel fans out there, there's DC fans out there, hell, there's sports fans out there. But Star Wars fans are like a completely different breed. Like there's never been I don't think there's too many other fandoms that would have as many fans as the Star Wars fandom. Um, which is not always a good thing. We saw when The Last Jedi came out, there's a lot of toxic fans, and that's not okay. That's never been okay. It's never going to be okay. Uh, but at the same time, it's like the people who were in charge of this project, like, kind of thought they had a cohesive storyline, but they never really had a cohesive storyline. Like, you made a series of films that makes you ask more questions than it's ever going to answer. Like, why do the people need a Sith Wayfinder in a universe where you literally, like, technology is advanced so far? Why do you still need a Sith Wayfinder? If anything else, why would you make finding that Sith Wayfinder a huge point of your movie, only for it to be destroyed and be like, oh shit, I had the other one the whole time?
Yeah.
It's I don't know. I just have a problem with the way these movies are being run. And maybe it's Disney, maybe it's the writers, it's something. I'm just not a fan of them for what they are now, as opposed to what they were when I was, say, a kid.
I will say, I think a lot of the blame gets put on Kathleen Kennedy, and I don't like it, mainly because at the end of the day, how a movie is supposed to be structured as far as who you're supposed to be pertaining to is something that comes from the top. I don't even necessarily want to put it at the feet of Bob Iger, but since that's the face that we know, that's the face that we go. So let's say that Bob Iger comes to Kathleen Kennedy and says, hey, look, if your director wants to make a true Star Wars movie, it still needs to be something kids can go to, right? So then you go, well, that maybe takes a little bit away from what Rogue One maybe could have done. Or maybe that takes away from what this new trilogy should have done. So then you kind of go, well, that's just a Disney thing. But on the other hand, we know for a fact, even well before Kathleen Kennedy came out and said it, we knew she had no idea what she was doing in the Star Wars world. Kathleen Kennedy very much so is a business woman. And what I mean by that is, and this is what a lot of fandoms don't really understand when it comes to Warner Brothers, Disney, stuff like that. You can be a smart business person that has no interest in your actual craft of a specific, like, if it's a comic book, right? So like you don't really care about the source material. You care more about how can I make sure we gross $1 billion this year.
It
So
became more about money and not about storytelling.
Right. So Kathleen Kennedy, to me, and I'm not, please, anyone listening, I am not saying this is fact, just from the outside looking in. Kathleen Kennedy very much so is a numbers cruncher. So, all right, how can I get Solo? How can I get Rogue One? How can I get Force Awakens and all these movies to gross $1 billion? That's what her focus is. I don't really think she's like Feige. And another thing that I hate is because Marvel has Feige, everyone thinks you need a Feige. You don't. You honestly don't. All you need is some kind of structure from whoever is doing movie to movie. And you need the guy above them or lady above them to be able to say, hey, here's what I need you to do. Has to be something that could be for everyone, but make the best thing you can do. And then step away, right? And then you put all the pressure on the director and the writers now to make something that is appealing to us as fans and people who just want to enjoy a movie. So I look at it and I go, if Kathleen Kennedy, knowing that she does not have that much knowledge about the Star Wars mythos, the legend, the stories, the books, whatever, what we were saying before, and I kind of wish we saved it for this so we're not regurgitating, but if she were to just go to Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau, not both. I don't need too many hands, in the pot. We saw that issue with Justice League where you had Zack, then you had Whedon, but on top of Zack and Whedon, you had Warner Brothers sitting there like, I want to change everything. And then it's like, we don't need all three of you. One of you has to go.
I still haven't seen Justice League.
You're not missing anything. It's fine.
Yeah.
You're a lucky one. No. In all seriousness, if she were to go to either one of those two guys and say, "Listen, I'm still obviously the voice of what happens in this Disney, the Star Wars world. It comes through me. But you being someone of those two that legit loves the source material and truly appreciates where it comes from, the vision that George had, I want you guys to structure a universe, right? And obviously you guys, bring me in on the loop, but you guys create the structure, create the foundation, and you draw out a timeline of what you want to take on, Dave or Favreau. And I'm just the overseer. If she did it that way and we knew the voice of Star Wars was Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau, I'm telling you right now, Star Wars would be unstoppable. Because you would have someone who's smart enough to know about marketing and money, and someone who loves and lives and breathes Star Wars. So we would know we are getting the best possible content at any given moment. Whether Diana, like you were saying, whether it's one Star Wars movie a year, 2 a year, 3 a year, 4 a year, we know we are getting the best of the best because we have some of the brightest minds a part of it. Right? So I look at it and I kind of go, I don't think Disney's doing a bad job because I look at it, I enjoyed Solo. I enjoyed Rogue One. I enjoyed, for the most part, what they were trying to do with this new trilogy. My issues more so with the trilogy are that you didn't have a consistent story you were telling. You obviously had Abrams started, and then your mindset was to have someone in the middle and then someone to end it. That, to me, is never a good idea unless they're all telling the same story. And I feel like if you don't know Star Wars, Rian Johnson very much was telling his own story from what Abrams set up. You could clearly see it. Abrams brought in Snoke not just to be a Palpatine puppet. It seemed like Snoke was supposed to be more. And I'm not saying he was supposed to be Plagueis or anything, but he just obviously seemed like it was supposed to be more meat to those bones. Phasma. J.J. Abrams came out and said Phasma is going to be huge in the next movie. And then Rian Johnson was just like,
Nah, she did.
No. Rian Johnson took that character and was like, I don't fucking like her. And what's funny is, this is how you know they were not on the same page. Abrams created Phasma, right? What did Rian Johnson do to Phasma? Made her seem like she was second fiddle, right? Rian Johnson created Kelly Marie Tran's character. What did Abrams do? Made her seem like she wasn't even in the movie. So they were taking shots at each other, and I don't mean that in a vicious way. I just mean that in the way of they were telling two separate stories. And that is what I thought was a downfall. But whose shoulder do I put that on? Kathleen's, because you have to make sure that you're telling a cohesive story in a trilogy. I shouldn't feel like I could tell someone that's new to Star Wars either watch Force Awakens or The Last Jedi. Don't have to do both. Because the third one will only confuse you because
it doesn't answer any of the questions.
Exactly. So to me, I'm like, I put that at Kathleen Kennedy's feet because you have to make sure everyone's on the same page. You got to tell Ryan, hey, I know you want to be free in storytelling, but Abrams set the table. I can't then have you snatch up what he just did and relay down new material. You got to kind of pick up from where he left off. So, I mean, there's a lot about what Kathleen kind of let slip through that I have an issue with. But I don't by any means think she has ruined anything. Again, I really did enjoy Solo, a Star Wars story. I actually think if you bring in Ron Howard and
Oh my God, bring in
Right.
Clint Howard too as an Imperial villain, please. I would love
think
Clint
if you
Howard to
bring
be.
I would love for them to bring in Ron Howard and Bryce Dallas Howard, bring those two in to do a solo series.
No, because if you bring her in, you're gonna have to bring Chris Pratt in, and then there'll be dinosaurs, and it'll turn into Jurassic Park.
Nothing's wrong with that. But no, seriously, I think Solo should have been a series from the beginning. It worked out as a movie. I didn't think it was bad. I was really curious what the previous directors wanted to do with it. But again, I think there's more good that Disney has done with Star Wars than bad. But I can see someone's point of view being money seems to be your only focus, not really the true storytelling of what some view as the greatest franchise.
And television-wise, it's phenomenal. I will absolutely give props to Disney for what they're doing with the television, but you also need to do that for the big screen because not everybody's going to want to watch what's on television. They're going to want to see it in a movie.
That's the biggest point we as fans of Star Wars have to realize is the difference. Disney is more willing to let you take liberties with your series because casual people aren't going to buy Disney Plus just to see a character of Star Wars if they're a casual fan of Star Wars. So you have more liberties to get away with things. When you do a live action, as soon as the word Star Wars pops up, everyone thinks it's universally a movie I could take my kids to. I could take my mother to. It's the same way Marvel is. That's why Marvel's going to have a tough time selling Deadpool because it confused people the first time. Many parents took their kids because it said Marvel. And they're like, my kid can see it. He watches Iron Man. Not the same thing. So I think what Disney is going to have to figure out is there is a way to tell stories that leave kids out. There is a way to tell stories that might leave some of us fanboys out. But there is a way to go in between both. You don't have to strictly say, well, I'm going to just make a movie that's for everybody. Then we kind of feel like you're watering down some elements. Like Rogue One should have had way more Vader in it than it did. But it didn't because you weren't going to show a vicious Vader in a movie that's supposed to be viewed for everyone.
And that's what I don't understand why this is always construed as a kid's movie. The very first movie consisted of a mass genocide of an entire planet. So I'm not quite sure where the
reason why, because if you go back, look at it through today's lens. If you go back and rewatch those three movies, it's not that vicious. Like a kid could watch that and not really have nightmares, right?
Yeah, but again, they murdered an entire planet.
Very true. But how did they do it? Did they show him putting the lightsaber through somebody or cutting the head off?
Yeah, no. They showed him cutting Obi-Wan down.
No.
They showed him choking out a rebel officer. They showed him force choking another dude.
But to a
Vader's the worst boss to have.
To a kid, that's not that vicious. And with the Obi-Wan thing, that was very playful because he disappeared. You didn't see his body cut in half.
Yeah, like
I know.
All
right.
through.
Right. So a parent would see that and go, "Oh, my kid's gonna have nightmares."
But then you see Revenge of the Sith, where Obi-Wan shoots Grievous in the heart like 8 times, and his freaking eyes burn out.
Time out. Disney would have never okayed that because it's like, whoa, hold on.
And then they were talking about how it was supposed to be more of a gruesome scene when Order 66 happened, but he didn't want to get an R rating. They almost got an R rating for what they showed.
An R-rated Star Wars movie, please.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just give me one. Like, I would be okay with just one R-rated Star Wars movie.
George Lucas, as the brilliant mind behind it, always felt like my movies are storytellers. So whether that's a story for children to view or a story for adults to view, it's just a story. But he understands the politics of, if I want my Star Wars movies to be hits, it has to be something everybody can see. But you're absolutely right. Star Wars isn't necessarily for kids. I tell people all the time, if you read Civil War from Marvel,
Captain America gets shot and
that's
killed.
not a kid's story, but Disney has to sell it as such. So
To
when
be
I watch-
fair, a lot of cartoons aren't really meant for kids as well, but
Right.
parents let them watch them because it's
Yeah,
a
it didn't
cartoon.
stop me from watching Star Wars. You know, I still watched it, but now looking back at it, I'm like, yeesh. Yeah, that's
fair, AJ, to be fair, what I'm trying to say is when cartoons like are released, like I tell people this all the time. I watched Shrek when I got older. When I was about like 18, I rewatched Shrek again, right? It's very much visually for children, but the dialogue is for adults.
That's like Animaniacs. Watch Animaniacs now.
Exactly. So you look at it and you kind of go, a kid will watch Star Wars and kind of go, oh, really cool lightsabers. And then like to us, we'll hear it and we'll kind of go, that's pretty brutal what's about to go down.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, I kind of look at it through that lens, but I'm gonna pass on. I feel like I've been talking for forever. I'm sorry. But I wanted to give a quick shout out. I believe it was George Lucas's daughter who helped bring Asajj Ventress to life. She actually was part of a whole arc, that bounty hunter arc of Asajj Ventress. I wanted to shout her out because Asajj Ventress, to me, is one of the most essential characters of Clone Wars. She obviously didn't create Asajj Ventress because we had Asajj Ventress in the Samurai Jack style of Star Wars: The Clone Wars, but I do believe she helped popularize that character in modern day because a lot of people, if you ask someone like, hey, what's your favorite Asajj Ventress like lightsaber battle? They'll tell you from this series. But I would tell them my favorite Asajj Ventress lightsaber battle is from the original Star Wars Clone Wars, where she's fighting Anakin on that planet and Anakin is going bananas against her. That's my favorite Asajj Ventress. But I love what they were able to do with this one. So I wanted to give her a shout out because she definitely helped popularize Asajj Ventress. And without that, we're kind of just like, who's that bald weirdo that like just, you know, out of nowhere is never seen again. So I wanted to give her a quick shout out because she loved that character. I saw the behind the scenes for the DVD my stepdad got me. She really loved that character a lot. And to me, what she did with Asajj is why, AJ, I sit here today and tell you we need a movie. We need a movie. We need a series. We need something because that character is way too layered.
Did they ever show Grievous massacring the Night Sisters on
Yes.
the Clone Wars? They did?
Yeah.
I got to rewatch that episode because I can't
It was
remember it.
pretty brutal.
Yeah, I can't remember that either.
Yeah.
Grievous is pretty brutal in that.
Yeah. Because I was saying, like, if that, like, you could make a movie on that, honestly.
But
The
I would
Night
actually
Sisters.
say
No, they could make a movie on Grievous, the backstory. I think someone mentioned that before. That would be
Right.
Yeah, I said I want to see him before he went full and then after. Like,
Yeah.
full robotic.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, I want Asajj Ventress. If they ever did a movie and it wasn't going to just be a one-off, I would actually like it to be a universe you build of the Night Sisters on one side and of Maul's people on the other.
Yeah.
And you show
Oh, yeah.
you showing those two worlds come together when Asajj goes over to take Savage as her apprentice. So I would love to see those two worlds bridge.
The live
I would
action
love a
Darth
little
Vader. Darth Vader.
Dathomir. Hell
Dathomir.
yeah.
Yeah, Dathomir.
Hated that level on Fallen Order, man. I can never get back to this shit. Ever.
That was so hard to find. It was
This
like
is the worst part of the game. You spent half of it looking for your ship.
But no, I would love that. But AJ, I'm gonna go to you next, man. How do you feel about the current state of Star Wars? Do you think it's in good hands, or are you kind of still like a lot more needs to be shown before I'm like, all right, things are rosy over here?
I'm iffy about it. I blame Kathleen Kennedy for all the bad things that's happening in Star Wars, but I
Honest
think
about it.
she's also done great things with Star Wars as well. Greenlighting Clone Wars again, Mandalorian, Solo, just a lot of good content came from her greenlighting it. So I won't say that she's all bad, but at the same time, I feel like she could do better when she picks out her directors. Sometimes they all leave because of disagreements, scheduling, whatever. Regardless, they always leave. And I think the main reason is because they don't have a full plan. Kathleen Kennedy never plans things out before anything. We get information all the time, news all the time with Star Wars, and then months later, director's gone, stories being rewritten, and I just feel like that's all on her because she doesn't. Much like oh God, how am I forgetting his name?
Oh.
George Lucas?
No, not George Lucas. Oh my God. MCU. Good Lord.
Kevin Feige?
Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Much like Kevin Feige, he plans all his stuff out along with his writers and directors. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy does that. I think she needs to start doing things ahead of time with instead of like moments notice. And I just feel like that's one of her weaknesses. But when it comes to money, I don't think anybody can do better. She's always given us great financial movies, in my opinion at least. But the overall like story arc between the trilogies is poorly done. The directors do the best they can, but that's not enough to give us a good overall story arc with Star Wars. I've always said that Star Wars was my favorite franchise of all time, out of movies, comic books, video games, everything. But lately, I think the MCU has been better than Star Wars when it comes to like the overall story arc, the saga, and all that, because Kevin Feige plans out his stuff. If we get all the people that write the books, comic books, movies all together in one place to figure out their plan, their story, I think everything will be fine. Like
Passion.
What was that?
More passion for Star Wars, like all those people who write those things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that the passion itself is still there within the people that work on Star Wars, but my thing is that it's not being executed right because of Kathleen Kennedy. And if she can just agree on a specific story that the writers give her, the directors agree with, and all of that, then everything will be fine. But much like what Joanne said, that she's a great producer. There's no doubt about that. But she's also sticking her hands where I don't think they should be, because she's not like a Kevin Feige. She should stick with her strengths, I think. And one of her strengths is producing movies, getting the money. That's what Disney loves about her. That's why she hasn't been fired yet. But yeah, overall, I love the content she brings out, but she needs to work with her creators on a specific story.
I'll say this. Before I go to you, Cody. The thing about it, and you said this, and I'm gonna get so much flack for this, but whatever. I don't think Marvel necessarily does things better. I think they do things more consistently. And I say that because there's a lot of movies that I think Feige meddled with that didn't end well, or movies that Feige put his name on that.
Yeah, he's not perfect. He's not. I'm not saying
No. Right. But if you listen to fanboys, you would think could do nothing. Batting 100, right? And albeit, I think he just comes from a more consistent standpoint, because at the time Disney was looking at it and kind of saying Iron Man was really, really, really big. And when he I remember that first Comic-Con where he was a fan had asked him like, you're doing Iron Man and Captain America, like, is this gonna become something one day? And he was like,
talking about
like, he was like, we very much created this universe where the idea is one day it could lead to the Avengers.
Everybody's
So it was a huge overarching game plan that he had. It wasn't just like this movie, that movie, that movie. It was like, hey, if this movie works, it leads to this, that leads to this, that leads to this. So he wasn't working from behind the 8 ball. He was in front of it, saying that this is the overarching story that I want, and we're going to tell these consecutive stories.
He's also adaptable. He learns from his mistakes, and then instantly he learns from them. Kathleen Kennedy, I don't think adapts well when under pressure. Like what I said before. Go on.
Well, no, I just don't think that Kathleen Kennedy, because she does not have the vast knowledge of what she's of the Star Wars world, she can't really go, all right, I trust you because I can fall back on knowing this story will hit or this character will hit.
That's why she needs to bring in someone that she knows and she can trust to have that Star Wars story that is good for the audience. She trusted Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau with The Mandalorian, and they're getting 3 seasons of that.
But that's different. That's what I want people to always remember, the business side. A show is always going to be different than a feature film. And the reason why is, let's say that The Mandalorian didn't have huge streaming numbers within like its first few weeks, but it picked up after, right?
Because of the story, though.
Right. No. Right. I'm saying, but like, let's say people weren't really paying attention to it, weren't really giving it a chance. TV shows have opportunities for its latter half to be a huge hit. If a movie doesn't strike hot within like the first 3 weeks, it gives another movie an opportunity to take the reins and just run with it. So you then are like, I couldn't make up the money I needed in the box office. That's a huge problem. So it's a bigger risk. Like if Iron Man was a series and not a movie, Feige probably would have told Jon Favreau, hey, whatever you want to do it. Because, the risk level is smaller than if I give you a movie to do and you just strike out on it. So we got to look at Kathleen Kennedy's situation here and go, she also, this is the biggest thing we have to remember of Kathleen Kennedy. She can get fired. So if she does not do her job well, she's out of a job. Mm-hmm. So when we go, well, don't put your hands in that, don't put your hands in this, she has a job to do. So if her movies aren't hitting, they could say, Bob Iger could come in and go, hey, it's been great, but you're fired. And now she's looking like, damn it, I was listening to you fanboys, keeping my hands out of it, but these movies weren't box office hits. They were true to our nature, but they weren't box office hits. So we always have to remember that when these studios get involved, part of it is they don't want to get fired. So they're looking to do whatever they can to make money to stay in the position that they're in. And I think that's what Kathleen Kennedy does on a day-to-day basis. She does not trust our love for Star Wars enough to say, do what you want, the money will make itself. I don't think she's there yet. So I think once Star Wars, and that's why I say 99, it will come a day where there is 3 to 4 movies a year, because I think that's when she will feel more comfortable on, all right, if this movie doesn't hit, okay, we got 2 others that might hit and still make up the money that I need in a year for these products. So I think, and that's the reason why Disney doesn't have an issue with Feige doing 4 to 5 Marvel movies a year, because they're like, well, he's batting 100 in the box office. So, I mean, even his bad movies are like, what, a few $100 million. Like, Thor still made money. Guardians 2 still made money.
I think the minimum was like $500 million.
Right. So, to them, they're looking at it and they're kind of going, still kind of batting 100 here. So I think that's what Star Wars is going to do. And you're right. It may tank how special it feels. Like, I'll never forget. And that's why I kind of feel sorry for this newer generation. They don't understand how significant that was. When Abrams came out with Force Awakens, the feeling we got, because we hadn't seen Star Wars
since Revenge of the Sith.
Long. So it was like, oh my God, yes, finally. What took you so long? But now that it's back, I think if you disappeared again, you might lose fans that way also. Because they're like, I'm not waiting another 5 to 10 years for you to give me another Star Wars movie.
No patience in this.
Give it to me now, right? So I mean, that's how studios feel, and that's why you don't get huge breaks in between Batman movies. It's like, all right, he just did it a year ago, and we're now with the new Batman. It's like, because it's a moneymaker and they want to continuously strike while it's hot. So if you're Star Wars, the worst thing you could do is say, hey, shows in movies, we're going to take like 3 years off and then we'll be back. Your fans would lose their minds. They would say, no. I'd rather 6 movies a year than you telling me I have to wait 5 years to get another Star Wars movie. And I'm not saying you're saying that 99. I'm not saying you're saying take huge gaps.
No, I don't need like the length of a Tool album waiting period to have Star Wars movies. I just want them to be better quality.
Right. And I think that again,
not quantity.
I think like what we were saying before, that starts with her working with someone like Dave Filoni, if not specifically Dave Filoni.
Do what they're doing. Sit down all the writers and directors you want to have and plot out the storyline.
Yeah. Right.
Not hard to do.
I'm totally with you. But see, here's the thing though. Here's the thing. If Dave Filoni does that, that means no side projects. Like, don't do Rogue One in the middle of me doing a Force Awakens trilogy. Let us do an overarching story, finish that story, and then do a new story. Rather than you doing, hey, this is an isolated film. This is an isolated film. And
having it in a completely different era between those movies really throws it out of whack.
Right. And that's what I want to say. I've spoken to a lot of casual Star Wars fans, right? That Solo, Rogue One, and then what they were doing with Force Awakens completely threw them off. Because they were like, wait, Vader's here. Wait, Maul's here. Wait, Kylo's here.
It wasn't released at a good time.
No, it wasn't. But see, and that's what I said to Feige's consistency. We've only had one large overarching story. We didn't have like Ant-Man takes place in like the 1940s, and then it's like, oh no, he's in present day. Wait, what? Where are we going here? So I think the next thing of Star Wars should be, this is one large overarching story. And Star Wars is better suited to do that format than Marvel and DC because the galaxy is so large.
And there's so many events you can do.
Exactly. So I think if, like, let's say, for example, that we're doing Knights of the Old Republic. I don't need you to introduce a Sith within that first movie. There's so much story for you to do. You could do the history and then do present day, right? Present day Jedi, and then towards the end, you're like, oh, Sith have arrived. There's so much story to tell. You could take your time and build a 5-year to 10-year arc like Feige just did. So I think if someone were to kind of do that with Kathleen and Star Wars, it would set it on a right track. So when you wanted to do different stories, people are like, okay, you finished this story. Phew. Now what's the next one? Rather than you're in the middle of this story and you're telling another one? What am I paying attention to here? So Cody, I want to go to you. Your thoughts on the state of Star Wars under Disney. Where do you kind of fall with it? Do you kind of see it like it's okay and it's gonna get better, or Kathleen has the the weird ability to either tank this dramatically or take us to new heights?
So, been thinking and trying to extrapolate into things I can say. Well, you guys, all of you made a lot of points I do definitely agree with. But, as with you guys, I think Star Wars is a big nostalgia thing for me and has been since I was growing up. Like, I used to go when I would visit my dad at work, he would put on the movies. And also, that's also why I'm partial to the prequels, is because that's kind of what I grew up on. I was born 98. So that was everything to me. Clone Wars, prequels, that was everything. And when The Force Awakens came out, I was very excited. I had never seen a Star Wars movie in theaters. And I was like, wow, okay, it's back. Star Wars is back. This is awesome. After seeing it and the rest of the state that Star Wars is in, I was disappointed. I think Force Awakens was okay. I love Kylo Ren's design. I don't think they did enough with his character. I think Rey is a hollow character. I don't think there's definitely not enough behind her. and like you were saying, Aina, the sequels just felt hollow in general. It didn't feel like Star Wars anymore. I don't know if that's because I wasn't a kid anymore. And there's like
I
no.
mean, it's like Luke Skywalker wasn't anything like Luke Skywalker ever was.
No.
And we never got to see him be like he was to see why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
You know?
But I will say,
He's like a creepy uncle more than anything.
yeah, I will say Rey felt empty only because The Last Jedi. Because The Last Jedi completely threw you off track of what it seemed like. I don't want to say it so definitively, but what it seemed like Abrams was setting up. What it seemed like Abrams was setting up was that she was going to be a Skywalker. That was where she came from. Now, how she was a Skywalker, that's up for Abrams to have told us. But it seemed like she was going to be a Skywalker, which would have brought everything home for us, and would have made Rise of Skywalker way more appealing if she had actually...
Other than just identity theft.
Right, exactly. If she had actually been a Skywalker, you would have been like, I get it. It's the end of everything. But instead, it was like, oh, you're a nobody. And then it was like, in the last one, you're actually not a nobody. You're the granddaughter of Palpatine. And it was just like...
What?
I have a little bit. I don't know.
It is all over the place. Yeah.
Like, what?
I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but I believe, well, first of all, when you guys were talking about Kathleen Kennedy and all that stuff, I do think she is a very good business and money person. That's it. She's numbers, and she definitely does have to be involved because that is her job to like be involved in all the processes and everything. But the main part of a creative process is when you sit down, you have to create a solid idea. You can't do anything without a solid idea and knowing steps ahead. You can't just be like you guys were saying. You can't just like go movie by movie. You need 100% to plan everything, and you need to have an overarching story you want to tell. And honestly, I think the Skywalker saga should have ended. Skywalker should have ended with Revenge of the Sith. I think maybe we could have mentioned or we could have heard little tidbits and Easter eggs, but I think this should have just been the sequels. Just should have been a whole new story. Some maybe before, maybe even further before or after, whatever. A high order of Jedi again. I don't know.
See, that's what I think they're doing now.
Yeah.
But I think it's a little too late because people are turned off of Star Wars now.
Yeah. They just stomped the Skywalker saga, and I don't know.
For me personally, I love the sequel. I love it, but I do accept that it has a lot of plot holes. The story is lacking overall, but for me, each movie separately, I feel like works by itself.
I only like Force Awakens.
Well, see, I enjoyed The Last Jedi only because Rian Johnson had the balls to give J.J. Abrams the middle finger. And
that was the problem, though.
No. But what I'm saying is I just thought it was ironic how all the fans were like, all right, saw Force Awakens, this is what The Last Jedi is about to be. And Rian Johnson was just like, oh, really? Okay, watch this. And then you leave The Last Jedi and you're like,
what the fuck is this series about?
Yeah, I don't think Rian Johnson saw.
Floating?
I don't think he saw Force Awakens because
No.
this is it.
No.
But to me, I don't think it was a bad movie. I think he made bad decisions. Killing Luke, bad decision. Not having Luke and Kylo actually physically face off,
yeah.
Bad decision. Because it's just if you're going to try to redeem a character, you got to throw out all the stops. The fact that Luke didn't try to appeal to Kylo's lighter side made no sense because you can't tell me Luke thought Kylo was unredeemable, but his father was more redeemable. Like, come on, no, that's
his father murdered a room full of children.
I'm like, come on, that's stupid. Kylo Ren did nothing even close to what Vader did.
Bad thoughts.
He still looked at Vader and was like, no, I can save you. How do you look at your nephew and go, oh, no, you? No.
Yeah, no. You can go right to hell.
Right. It's like
They did give us Ben Swallow, though. That was a pretty good meme.
That was a great meme. But no, it's one of those things to where you go, he just made philosophical mistakes in The Last Jedi. Like, The Last Jedi could have been 100 times better. if he just made some better decisions. Like your decision to have the first thing that we see of Luke be he takes the lightsaber and throws it. All right, Ryan Johnson.
And then goes to drink blue milk straight out of an animal. Like that's
as soon
almost
as
like,
I
come on,
saw
man,
that,
do
I
it.
was just like, we're on track for a really rocky movie. Like
Yeah.
this is only
This is not off to a great start.
no, not at all. So I mean, but to me, like we said,
Call it a laser sword my ass.
exactly. And Cody, you make a great point. They should have went more original for Force Awakens.
Maybe it was still.
For that whole trilogy. I know so many
Yeah.
people that saw Force Awakens and they went, "This is familiar to one of those older movies of Star Wars that I saw."
It was basically New Hope.
so I mean, you didn't go original enough. But I will still say, to me, the most iconic thing that came out of this trilogy was, and I'll never forget this, is the beginning of Force Awakens, where Kylo lands.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, when the stormtroopers actually hit something.
yeah, exactly. But when he goes, "I will show you the dark side," and he's
Yeah.
kind of holding the blaster
Goosebumps.
mid-air, and then I'm like, okay, once he puts his hand down, like the blaster's gonna kind of go.
Nope.
He puts his hand down and is still talking, and then he's like, "All right, I'm done with you," and then it just kind of like just flinked, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Or here's another thing that bugs me about it. So Poe Dameron is directly responsible for Finn deciding to desert the First Order because Poe Dameron killed the friend that left the handprint on his hand,
right.
which caused a snap in him. So, like, I feel like they could have gone more into that.
Yeah, there was a lot more that, even though I think they
As a
should-
great bromance, honestly. I honestly
Yeah.
thought it was gonna be, that's what it was going to be. I'm like, okay, well, I'm bold for doing it, but go for it.
I also, and I feel as though the books and the comics appeal more to this, and I felt like this trilogy lacked it. I needed more. I needed bigger stakes. I needed one of those original teammates to have died. Died.
Well, yeah, that's what was good about Force Awakens is that Han Solo did die in that.
Oh no! I'm sorry. When I say original, I mean of the new original team of Rey.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you wanted like a newer death for them to
Right,
deal with.
Yeah.
right. Because
Boss. Yeah.
and the only reason I say that is because they said that we probably won't ever revisit these characters.
Mhm.
Because it was the ending of a whole saga. So this probably be the last time we see Rey, Poe, Finn. They might be mentioned, but we probably won't see him again. If we see anyone, it will only be Rey. We'll
Man, we need that. We need that Finn storyline. I need to know if he becomes a Jedi.
I mean, I would like to see that. I would like to see a world where Finn is now a Jedi. Rey.
I need to know if Lando Calrissian's that chick's dad.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like I don't like this.
We know
This
Lando-
really speaks to the
Lando-
movie, and I feel horrible for saying it, but I don't even know that character's name. But apparently, like that's the theory is that he was her dad.
Right.
Can-
But no, the reason why I needed one of them to die was because I needed the stakes to be higher. Like if you when Rey was kind of having that vision nightmare of becoming a Sith, I think you would have kind of been able to play with that more if Kylo had taken someone close to it. Because then the idea of him becoming redeemable is even harder. But I really felt like there was nothing about Kylo that made him that made it difficult for him to be redeemed. Like the entire time, I'm like, he killed his dad. All right, okay. Vader killed Kenobi, and that was like the closeness that they had. So I'm like, all right, not really. But then after that, it was like, what did Kylo do that made you think he couldn't be redeemed? Like you needed to do something that separated him and made him feel so unredeemable that when he was redeemed, it hit harder because you're like, it came full circle. But the fact that the biggest thing that Kylo did was kill his dad, you're kind of like, that's like the thing that all Sith do. It's like anytime you have a Sith master, the first thing he wants you to do is let go of the things that you're closest to. So the first thing he tells you is, oh, you love your mom? Yeah, I love my mom. Oh, you're going to have to kill her. What? Yeah, you're going to have to kill her. So I'm like, that wasn't really shocking that he decided to kill his dad. But I do think it was poetic how JJ shot that scene. How you saw the sun go down right as Kylo was starting to make his decision on whether or not he was going to kill Han. The idea of, I don't know what to do. I'm so torn. And Han thought what he meant by that was, I'm torn. I want to come back to you, but I don't know how. Kylo was like, no. I'm torn because I want to kill you, but I'm not sure if I could do it. So I just loved how J.J. Abrams set up that scene of him killing Han, because it was A, unexpected, and B, it made it seem like Kylo was fighting to come back to his father, but really he was like, no, I really want to be like my granddad, and I want to kill you, but I just don't know how. And when Han grabbed the lightsaber, he was kind of like, this is how.
Oh, wait.
This. You made
Ah.
it for me. But I think we can all agree that Disney and Star Wars are doing a lot of things that we like. We like what we've been seeing with how they're ending the Clone Wars, which they very much could have said, done with you. No, we're not.
Yeah, we did Rebels. That's what all you get.
When I got Rebels, I was kind of like, no, we're not. And what's funny is I was working at Target at the time of when Clone Wars went off air because Disney had just acquired Star Wars. And Filoni had made it known that they're going to be doing Rebels. A guy I worked with was like, I was telling him, I was like, how is Filoni going to do Clone Wars when technically Cartoon Network has the rights of Clone Wars? Like, how are you ever going to do that on the Disney Channel? And he goes, Juwan, they're not going to do Clone Wars. And I'm like, no, but they have to. You can't end it.
Don't say that.
And then when Rebels starts, I'm like, oh no, they're never going to do Clone Wars. It made me resent Rebels early on, but I'm glad I actually gave it a chance. Once I heard rumblings of Ahsoka being in Rebels, I was like, okay, all right. Yeah,
All right.
where are we going with this? But then, fast forward where Filoni announces that we're getting the final season of Clone Wars. I'm like, yes. And if Kathleen doesn't sign off on that, we don't have that. We don't have The Mandalorian, which was a risk because you thinking that a general audience would A, remember how the Fets looked, and B, even knowing what the hell a Mandalorian was such a huge risk. But it was so well done that it appealed to all walks of life.
The child was the hook.
The
Non-fans.
child was the hook. The child
It
was
became a terrible Facebook meme very quickly, but it was the
very
hook.
quickly, very quickly. But I will say, to
It
me,
became the new Minion.
oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
To me, what kind of sparked my interest of the show was I was a huge Pre Vizsla fan, like a huge Pre Vizsla fan. So I'm watching it, and when he dies, I'm kind of just like, oh no. But my wife, AJ was coming up, she's coming up in the ranks during that time, and I'm like, all right, Bo-Katan, I see you, girl. But I love Pre Vizsla, and I love the story he told of Mandalore of old, and how he was
Vizsla.
right when he was describing the Darksaber and everything. I'm like, I love this character. So when I heard about the Mandalorian coming out, I'm like, a chance to hear more about the Mandalorians? Yeah, sign me up. Like, I want to hear more about them.
And the bonus was we got the freaking Darksaber in that too.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting it. Soon as I saw it, I'm like, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
And I wish Nick was still a part of everything that we're doing. But I remember telling him when we first got word that they were doing a show about Mandalore, and I remember saying it was right around when I think they started to talk about dropping a trailer, or maybe it was before they started shooting. But I remember going, I need a Darksaber, and everyone on the show was like, dude, you're not gonna get it. If you do get it, it won't be anywhere near the first 2 seasons. And I'm like, no. You don't need to wait. You drop it ASAP, especially if you're not going to have Jedi, have the Darksaber. And everyone was like, they're not going to do it. And I remember watching that end credit scene like, all right, what's this end credit scene going to be? And then you see him carving out, so he can get out of the TIE fighter. And when you see the Darksaber, I just went, I knew it. I knew it. And then I'm like, this is going to be an epic season 2. And then they said Ahsoka's gonna be in it, and I'm like, I can't even handle how excited I'm gonna be watching season 2. But no, all in all, I think we all can agree there's aspects of what Disney is doing with Star Wars that looks redeemable.
Yeah.
It's not all been horrible. It's not all been great. But
John, sorry, I just had a question. I don't want to, before we get too much like farther into the good things about Star Wars. I just had a question. You were mentioning the stakes, like how you wish the stakes would have been higher for, the new sequels. Did you feel? Because I felt this watching Rise of Skywalker. I felt it was a lot of like bait, and then like I don't know. I felt like it wasn't. The stakes weren't high. There was Chewbacca died, and then he came back. C-3PO lost his memory and then got it back. There was just a lot of too much like instant gratification where it wasn't enough loss. Maybe, I don't know.
no,
Did you guys feel that way?
Yeah, I did, for sure.
Yeah.
You make a great point, and it's the issue, and everyone always gets on me about this, but it's the issue I have with the MCU. There are no true stakes. And then the one true stake you got early on was killing a character you just met in the movie, and then you killing Stark off, and I'm like, that to me wasn't even a high enough stake. Like, I needed to see someone go that you weren't expecting to go. That it was just like, what? They killed blah blah blah. And to me, whenever you're telling a story, if you don't have true enough stakes, it becomes a soap opera. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever watched a soap opera, people come back from the dead in a soap opera. So there's no true stakes. It's like
lives as the world turns.
Yeah, I mean, I saw on a soap opera a dude fell out of a helicopter onto pavement, not even water, onto like pavement, and then like 3 months later, they're like, "Guess who's back?" What the? What? This is so based in reality. What technology did you have to bring like that? So, I mean, I look at it, yes, of course, is all of this fake? Yes. But if you don't have a dimension of it that kind of brings a realness factor to it, to where it's like, what are your stakes? Like, we don't ever send soldiers to war and go, everyone's going to make it back. No, the stake is a lot of these people won't make it back. That's the stake of it. That's the realness. Yeah. If everyone returned home, we would kind of go, what are they doing over there? Like, how is it all of you survived? So I look at this world the same, and I kind of go, if you don't have high enough stakes, we're looking at it, we're kind of just going, this is the A-Team.
It's a movie.
They're going to save the day every day. It's always going to work out for everyone. And that's not the world George Lucas built. I think people forget the last George Lucas movie ended with all the Jedi dying. So it's like, we didn't end the movie where the Jedi were like, oh, we found a way to stop Palpatine and we survived. Thank God.
No, they lost.
Death everywhere. Children died. That's stakes. Those are stakes.
Yeah.
So to me, it's what I think lacks in that trilogy. It's what I think lacks in the MCU. And I've never really been a fan of it. Someone has to go.
Yeah.
Someone has to. But anyway, I'll go around. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add on the current state of Star Wars under Disney? Anyone?
Said what I needed to say.
Yeah. I'm hoping. I have a lot of hope for, obviously Mandalorian was amazing in season 2. I think they can definitely I mean, they have already turned it around. I'm so happy with Clone Wars right now. This is and some of the best time to have it. Like, during all this craziness, is some of the best time to have this grounded, nice, a little bit of nostalgia with some new crazy stuff.
I'm completely with you. AJ?
Yeah, Clone Wars, incredible. Mandalorian, I can't wait to get season 2, season 3. It's already been confirmed as well. Solo, hopefully they'll give us new information. Not for Solo, goodness. Obi-Wan. Hopefully they'll give us new information for Obi-Wan series. The one thing I wish or I hope they do good in with the new series they do for the movies is, if they're going to do Sith, don't make it like they always do. Just a quick death I never liked that about Star Wars. Palpatine dies because of throwing, because he's thrown off. I don't like that. Dying again. I just don't like how the Sith. I like how they use Palpatine throughout, but the Sith as a whole, I just didn't care for. So hopefully we can get a badass action scene with the Sith. So I wish that happens. I don't want anything else to do with. This is just me, but I don't want anything else to do with the Republic or just war that's not between Sith and Jedi. I just want everything to be Sith and Jedi because you can still tell a good story. There's a lot of lore between the two factions. I
Right.
think we can get people interested in, and it will make a lot of money. I feel like.
We need some like big like Jedi Sith like battles, and not just a how the Sith usually work is like a master and a
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
give me like the Sith
need,
Triumvirate
like,
or like the
giant
Legion of Sith.
fight. A legion of Sith versus like a or like a small group of Jedi. Something crazy.
God, they could do that
I'm
Battle of
tired of
Malastare
those.
with
I'm
that
tired
super
of
weapon
those
that they
too.
activated that turned everyone into like stone.
Oh
They
yeah.
could do that.
Yeah. I mean, look, the one thing, and I put this on Lucas beforehand, and I put this on Kathleen after. They both have drastically undervalued how much we prefer lightsaber battles than anything else.
Mhm.
Like we just want to see lightsaber battles. I mean, it'd be the equivalent of us having like 8 Harry Potter films and like they barely did like wizard battles. It was like, what do you think I'm here for?
Give me like the Jedi version of Rambo, and I will be happy.
Yes, that's what I want. You know what I specifically would want? If you do Knights of the Old Republic and you get to a scene to where Malgus and his crew are like mauling down Jedi, and it's the one last Jedi left
Mhm.
who's like super powerful, and he's trying to take on all these Jedi. He gets worn down. All these Sith. He takes down like these Sith henchmen, and it's now him at like 50% versus Malgus at 100, and we're seeing just the best of the best go at it. In a movie,
One of them needs to be voiced by Arnold Schwarzenegger, though, because I need one-liners thrown in there.
I would like some one-liners thrown in there. I can't disagree with that.
Allow me to cut you a break.
Oh God! Now I don't want to see that.
But no, I think both of those George Lucas and Kennedy have undervalued lightsaber battles, and it's like that's all we want. Like
Also, get rid of the rule of two. I'm over that.
Yeah.
They need to get rid of that.
the rule of
What'd you say? Get rid
Yeah,
of.
the rule of two. I'm over the rule of two.
Well, see,
Oh,
this is what I want to get rid of. I want to get rid of incompetent, like Star Wars took on the same thing that we saw Power Rangers do and many other things do. I don't need the clueless, dumb henchmen. Like, I would like you to have competent henchmen. Like, I never understood why Rita would always say, I'm going to send the Mud Puppies, but she had Goldar sitting in the throne room doing nothing all day. Send Goldar. What are you doing? Like, the Mud Puppies keep getting beat up. Send Goldar. Send Lord Zed. Or you go, Rita. So with Star Wars, I want to see.
Or here's the thing: just get a gun and shoot them.
That'd be easy. First of all, you know that they're teenagers when they're not Power Rangers. Just go murder them when they're not.
Exactly.
That'd be the best thing.
It's the 90s. This kind of thing happens all the time.
All the time. But with Star Wars, it's like do less troopers. Maybe have bounty hunters team up with the Sith. So it's
Or
a
with
more
the animation game.
battle.
Or fuck, just give me like I'll kind of refute here. Give me something from the view of a stormtrooper. Like, give me a movie on that.
Yeah.
Man. I would love to see that, a stormtrooper going through the academy, what they teach and stuff, and like just that.
The one thing
Well,
that I didn't care for with the war scene in Endgame is most of the Avengers were cannon fodder. I just didn't really care about any of them when that scene happened. I love the scene as a whole, but not seeing the Hulk go against the God, what are they called? Black
Black Order.
Black
huh?
Black
Black
Order.
Order.
Black Order, yes. I didn't like how weak they became in Endgame. We got all hyped for them, and I just felt like it was a big letdown. And we just had all these henchmen, which really didn't need to be there. And
The
that's
battle of CGI.
exactly.
I mean, look, Joel said this to me, and we always argue about this, and I'll allocate it to Star Wars. He goes, if you have someone that's OP, you don't really need a team, and that's always false. Goku uses his team as cannon fodder every season. He's like, all right, Frieza's really strong. I want to see how strong Frieza is. Yamcha, go try to fight Frieza. Yamcha dies in like 3 seconds. All right, you're that strong. Okay. All right. So I'm like, to me, I don't mind having someone who's semi-OP. Because I think when people think OP, they think, all right, well, you're unkillable. No, Star Killer is OP. You easily could kill Star Killer. Well, let me not say easily, but you could kill Star Killer.
But the thing is, with the MCU, you already have the Black Order. That's enough to fight at least like 5 of the Avengers itself.
Yeah, but they watered them down, AJ. Like no one, except for me, no
They
one
nerfed them.
appreciates.
They shouldn't have. I think that was a bad part on their end.
Well, the reason why they didn't power up the Black Order, and I did understand this. I was listening to the Russos in an interview, was if they seemed too strong to where they could handle the Avengers themselves, you really didn't need Thanos. Thanos didn't need to be there at all. So you had to make them seem more like
that holds the suspense, I think. If the Black Order is so strong they can take on like 5 or 6 Avengers, I feel like if they fight Thanos, we'll be more on the edge of the seats because we know it was hard for them to fight the Black Order.
Well, see, this is what I originally wanted the story to be, and we're going to go back to Star Wars. I originally wanted the first movie to be about the Black Order getting the stones for Thanos. And then it ends with them, whether it's 1 of them left or 2 of them left, you see them kneeling and handing Thanos the stones, and he puts all the stones in the gauntlet. He still snaps, and then we see the fallout in Endgame of now, all right, the Avengers couldn't even handle the Black Order. What are they going to do against Thanos? And then you see Captain Marvel come in, who's OP, so she can kind of help balance things out. It just would have been better if it went that way. But I don't ever like to act like I know more than the Russos because they are great storytellers. But to me, it would have been a way for people to respect the Black Order. Because if you read any of the comics, the Black Order, they are not to be trifled with.
Mm-hmm.
They will kill you in a second, and you don't even need to make it to Thanos. They like Thanos too. Don't worry about him. You won't get to him. But with Star Wars, to me, I think they always water down the Sith.
Terrible.
Because to me, I don't ever need my Sith Lord or bad guy to be redeemable. And I think that has been a way too common thing in Star Wars. I am okay that a guy doesn't really come from a lineage. A guy was born hateful, lived his life hateful, and just likes to kill people. I'm okay with that. I am okay with the idea.
Fuck, give us the Mask of Moment. Did you guys ever hear of that story where Vader put on like this ancient Sith mask?
I did, yeah.
And it was like an actual psychopath, and even Vader was like, "Holy, no, I'm good, bro."
Vader was like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
If you guys haven't read that one, that is such a good comic.
What's it called?
It's the Mask of Moment, I think. And that one I told you earlier was Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, 7 through 10 was the Joe New one.
Okay.
But yeah, just look up Mask of Moment. I'm sure it'll pop up. But yeah, that is a great story. And that would be a great character to see, just like a Carnage type villain who's just a straight psychopath that now has powers.
Yeah. I mean, and we even saw Dave Filoni do it with Maul. He made Maul somewhat of a sympathetic character.
But then also made him a complete psychopath.
Right.
Nice
but Maul never was seeking redemption. Like, he was never looking for something more. He just wanted power. That was it. And to me, Star Wars needs more characters like that just want power. There is no, well, wait, we have your wife, and she's going to talk to you out of it. No. Like, I want a scene to where someone's like, hey, this is your wife. She's going to talk you out of it. And he's like, oh, okay, send her in. She comes in. All right. Look. You know, like, I want to see someone who does not have a motivation that's deeper than power. You know, like, he doesn't want better for the universe or love. Just someone who's like, yo, I woke up today. I just want to kill 30 people. Like, what planet is open so I can just go there right now? Like, I want a bad guy like that.
I just want to see a movie with Ryan Reynolds as that character. He's like, I'm trying to get to a planet. Like, don't ask why. I've just got to kill like 30 people today. Okay?
I also
So,
want
yeah.
I also want planets that have more than one climate.
Yeah.
That would be nice.
I really do.
That would be nice. I also would like to see that there's more than the same 10 planets that we've been introduced to.
Yeah.
You can't tell me there's a whole galaxy out there, but I keep seeing the same 10 planets. Through
Like,
each
fuck.
era of
Give
Star
us
Wars.
Korriban, man. Bring Korriban back and have it be the home of the Sith. That'd be dope.
And I want to say this because not Revenge. I'm sorry. Rogue One teased it when they showed Vader's planet that he took on for his own.
Oh, that's Mustafar.
Right. I want to see a villain have his own planet that's just decked out for him.
I just want to see what Vader's like. I want to see like an MTV Cribs, but Vader edition,
Oh,
where he just takes you through the castle.
that would be hilarious. Yo,
He's like, yeah, so right over there out this window, if you look, it's in my bedroom. That's where I lost my arm and my legs. Also where I fought my best friend. You know, it gives me motivation in the morning.
right? It motivates me every morning I wake up. Some people need coffee. I just need to smell the
Yeah,
air of where I
exactly. I can still see my limbs down there.
die. Right. And then someone comes in and they're like, higher ground. And he's like, who said that? Who wants to die today? I told you, don't say that. But no, I would love for us to do like a spoof on Star Wars. There's just so much to spoof. But no, I think we all can agree. We're excited to see where they go from here. One last thing I wanted us to talk about so we can wrap this up. I don't want to hold you guys too long. They did greenlight a sequel to Fallen Order. We do know we will be follow up to that. That was a masterful game.
It was. Except for losing my ship every 5 seconds, it was a wonderful game.
It was a biatch to beat, but it was so much fun. I haven't had this much fun in a Star Wars game. Well, Force Unleashed, but canon-wise, since Revenge of the Sith. That was.
And most of the fun was just like creating your lightsaber, like making it exactly the way you want it.
Yep.
And it was so dope.
And I liked how, like, if you weren't a fan of the duel, it would just go to one. You could just have one.
Yeah.
It didn't have to be dual. And I'm like, yo, whoever thought of that, you're a genius. Because
And then if you had the PlayStation version, it would change colors too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This was a great game. As soon as I saw the trailer, I was with Joel. I was at Joel's house when I saw the trailer for the first game, and I remember saying, like, you could make this into like a movie, and you have the perfect guy that you could use as your lead to actually bring this to life. And it wasn't until I finished the game, saw all the story, and I'm like,
Drake Bell.
should be
Drake Bell is Cal Kestis.
not to see this movie whatsoever. No, you bring in, I don't know why I can't think of his name. Played Joker.
Mark Hamill.
No,
Joaquin
played
Phoenix?
actual Joker in
Joaquin Phoenix?
no, he played Joker in Gotham.
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch Gotham.
Oh,
I don't think Gotham at all.
Come
Yeah.
come
I've
on,
never
Cody.
seen it.
Help me. I got my phone right here.
I would say Jesse Plemons, the dude from the USS Callister episode of Black
Was he in
Breaking Bad. He was in Breaking
yeah.
Bad.
Yeah.
He was in Friday Night Lights too. He kind of looks like Matt Damon, but like not Matt Damon.
Cameron Monaghan. That's his name. Cameron Monaghan. I would love that because I could even see a story because we're so used to bad guy turn good, right? With Star Wars. What if you went the route of doing Fallen Order as a series that kind of makes his character go towards the dark side?
or the Inquisitors, where they steal the Padawans and they go into become Inquisitors.
Yeah, I would love that because we saw that they would take children and make them stormtroopers. Why couldn't they take Force-sensitive kids and force them to be Sith or Inquisitors, like you said? So, I mean, I would love that. Cameron Monaghan bodies so many emotions in his acting. Shameless to show, people tell me he's amazing in that. If you ever did watch Gotham, just for his take as Joker, brilliant. So brilliant. So I mean, I love that game. I cannot
Oh
wait-
shit! Yeah, you're right. Cameron Monaghan is the better person to play that.
right?
Yeah,
Um,
he literally looks like Cal Kestis.
well, no, time out.
No, he plays him.
He is
He
him.
plays him.
He
Oh,
is.
he is.
Yeah,
yeah.
he is him.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he is him. I couldn't think of his name. That's why I couldn't tell you like, oh, it's him. That's why I had to look up the name. But he is that character.
Wow.
So I mean, a series, just a Disney Plus series of that would be epic. Just so we could have Jedi in a live action series again. And a series that we know won't have an immediate end. Like the Kenobi show can only go but so far. Because we literally know his beginning and end. After the events of Revenge of the Sith. It's not that long.
Episode 1.
Right. I'm like, it's not that long of a story arc. So I'm like, it's 2 seasons, 3 max, and then that's it. But yeah, so you guys are all excited for this follow-up game, right?
Very.
Yeah.
Interested to hear this.
Is
If
there
I can customize my lightsaber more, like it would be cool if when that game comes out, you could take your lightsaber that you already made from the first game and import it into your current game.
that would be dope.
I want a true.
That would
I
be
want a true open world Star Wars game.
Yeah, like I could just go wherever.
I'm
Yeah.
with you. Because I would tell you this, I would never play Grand Theft Auto again if you're telling me I could
Yeah.
not only customize my own ship, but then
Yeah, like Rockstar makes a game like that.
I want. I
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. Rockstar Star Wars.
yes,
Rock
yes.
Star Wars.
And I would say this because a lot of people will go, well, what if kids wanted to play it? You could have a mode to where you're not able
Fuck
to.
them.
Fuck
Yeah.
the kids.
Well, no, I'm saying you could have like a child mode where
Yeah. The no blood. There's like
Yeah.
certain games that have like the blood.
What? The rated R version. You telling me I could go galaxy to galaxy and just kill people?
Exactly.
What?
Random
And you
people.
don't have to be force sensitive either. Like you can make it an
Exactly.
MMO like that
Wait, time out. What if
or an RPG.
what if you could? What if there were 3 different ways you could play the game? Sith, Jedi, or Bounty Hunter? Oh
I had-
my goodness!
How about wait?
Sith all the way.
You remember that game Infamous?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
You know how
Yeah. That
depending on
mechanics.
Mhm.
you would switch.
yeah.
Yeah. And then your lightsaber changes. Oh, that'd be dope.
Yes, and you get the eyes. You get the Sith eyes if you change.
Give us
Oh, I'd be
all the things.
I'd be
All
full
of it.
Sith.
And
All
what's
Sith.
funny is,
All
what's funny is
Sith.
for years people said it would be so difficult to do an open world of Star Wars.
No.
It's not
No,
hard.
man.
It's not. You're not telling me I could drive over. I could drive all over LA in the last Grand Theft Auto, but you can't make it to where I could fly from planet to planet.
That's
you-
not that hard.
Dangerous.
It's not that hard. And
Mhm.
here's the easier thing. If you don't want to even show like me legit controlling myself in the galaxy, like hyperspacing and stuff, all you have to do is once I get in my ship, you just kind of like show me going into hyperspace into the next planet. But I
Yeah.
can fly around in my ship on that planet. So like if I wanted to fly town to town, I could do that in my ship. But when you're going from planet to planet, it's just kind of like hyperspeed and you're there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. It's just as long as you're not telling me I have to do a specific mission here, here, and here. I could explore. That's all we
Yeah,
want.
I would like it like either Red Dead Redemption or The Witcher 3, where you can decide to
Yeah.
play the specific story or just go on your own journey.
Also, I would like it to be your character is neither Jedi nor Sith. So depending on your actions is
Yeah.
where your character goes. So like in Red Dead, if you start killing random people, you become an outlaw. So I would like it to where you could choose whatever color you want your lightsaber to be. But if you start killing people, not helping people, you go the Sith route. If you start helping people, saving people, you go the Jedi route. Like you legit, as the story goes, control which way you want to go. I would love that because I would love nothing better than to go, I helped that lady and like she didn't even say thank you. I'm gonna
I
go
might kill her.
back
Lightning for
and
you.
cut her head off. I'm gonna go back and cut her in half.
Or better yet, give me Battlefront VR. Like make the next Battlefront game, but make it have a VR mode. How dope would that be if you
I
get
think
to
they're
like?
done with Battlefront though.
Yeah, I know they ended support for Battlefront 2, but I don't know if that means they're just switching gears to looking at the next Battlefield game or there's stuff down the road. But I'm saying like in the future, give me a Battlefront VR game. How dope would that be though? To be on like Hoth Well, you can just battle and it actually feels like you're there.
And I would love a Star Wars game that had Arkham mechanics.
Yes.
If there's a horde of stormtroopers attacking you or bounty hunters, whatever, you could fight them all at the same time. Because the mechanics of this was very much so like of God of War, to where it was like you could block and stuff, but you blocking takes away from you attacking. So I would like it to where I have the mechanics of
Counter.
Night, to where you got like the senses pop up and you could like dodge and hit at the same time.
Assassin's Creed kind of.
Yeah, or like Spider-Man, how Spider-Man was on the PlayStation.
Assassin's Creed.
Exactly, right.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed too.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right. Look, we're making Disney too much money with our ideas here.
Yeah, exactly. I better get a check in the mail. I'm serious.
Ignore us, Disney. But no, we had a great 2 episodes, guys. This one I might put out later in the week to kind of let it breathe a little bit, and
I have to record Tuesday.
right, and mainly because we're gonna be looking to do Tuesday. If we could do Tuesday or Wednesday, right after.
What's Tuesday?
May the 4th.
May 4th.
Oh, yeah.
After, yeah.
So we're gonna have to try to get together to try to put out an episode that day. So we don't get kind of like
Shafted.
lost in all of the other Star Wars content that will be released that day. So we could either do Tuesday or Wednesday.
I wish we could do like a movie marathon on here. That would be cool.
Yeah.
We actually could. Only issue is we would each have to be watching it on our own.
And
So like one person could have the sound on, but we're watching the video on our own, and we're just going through and breaking it down. So
I
we
still think my idea for infomercials for Star Wars vehicles is a gold mine.
Well, don't say anything else before someone steals it. But no, we'll definitely think of more content to give you guys even after Star Wars: The Clone Wars is over. As you guys see right here, we have plenty of ideas. We can review games, we can review books, we can review other movies, other shows. There's just so much to do. We could even go over Mandalorian season 1. So there's just so much for us to do. But thank you guys for joining us for an all-new episode of Star Wars Saturday. We did a 2-peater. This was fun. I wouldn't mind doing more 2-peaters. But stay tuned for whatever we have next. Shout out to Cody. He actually did a edit for us for Star Wars Saturdays that I will be tagging. I'll be attaching to our videos going forward. So stay tuned for that, guys. But thank you guys. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Always.